Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from Skiessentials.com. Welcome to episode 3 of our Top 5 Fridays news videos. We're still shooting them here in my basement. Again, hopefully within a couple weeks, maybe as long as a month, but hopefully sometime soon I'll be back in the Ski Essentials studio, and we will be doing these videos from there. But I guess before we jump into things, we just wrapped up our month with Rossignol. So the month of April was the Rossignol Stay Home Happy contest. We got a bunch of cool submissions. We will be announcing the winner of a pair of these Sender skis probably around Wednesday of next week. We usually announce those on the 5th or the 6th of the following month. Today is May 1st, so happy month of May. It's starting to feel like spring is here in Vermont. Although we're still getting some kind of rogue little snow squalls now and then. Anyways, we got some fun news topics this week. More COVID-19 news, yes, but it's not all COVID-19 news, and some of it's pretty positive. So we'll start, and this kind of is an extension of what we talked about last week. Last week we talked about those lawsuits that were kind of going against Vail and Altera, basically people claiming that they should receive some sort of refund because they weren't able to use their pass as long as they had been promised, or that's essentially the gist of it. And we have some new news with that. So both Ikon passes and Vail Resorts and the Epic Pass, they're both offering basically a credit towards next year's pass, which I think is more than fair. And I think it's a very reasonable answer to kind of the demands or people out there saying like, hey, I don't really feel like I got the full value of my pass. I think this is a really good way to do it. I think it's providing good value to the consumer, and I think it's a relatively safe way for Vail to do it financially, or Ikon, either one. Little difference between the two. Basically, Vail Resorts is offering a range of credits towards next season's pass from 20% to 80%. That's based on how much you skied this year. And the range is kind of funny. It's only like 0 to 5 days. So if you're within that 0 to 5 range, you're going to get somewhere between 20 and 80%. If you didn't ski at all, you'll get the full 80% credit. And then basically, you know, even if you skied like 120 days this season and you had the best season of your life, you're still going to get a 20% credit towards next year's pass. So I think that's pretty cool. If you hear my cat jumping around above me, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Ikon's doing it a little bit differently. Basically, they're doubling the renewal credit, which is normally $100, and they're doubling that to $200. So I think both just really reasonable answers to the situation. And hopefully that kind of encourages people or gives people some incentive to get their pass for next year. And hopefully it keeps those resorts in a financially healthy situation. There's also, I saw this more on the Vail side, but they put out basically a list of reasons why your pass would get refunded fully next season, which is pretty interesting. They haven't really done that before, and I think that's going a little bit further and easing people's minds going into next season, saying like, hey, why would I drop all this money on a pass if something similar happens? So I think that's great. Plenty more info on both of these. Denver Post has a good article on it, so check that out if you're interested in learning more. The next, kind of along the same lines, a little different. We talked about this last week a little bit, but more ski areas are starting to kind of cautiously reopen. We've got a couple stories here, one from the Colorado Sun, one from the Telegraph that's covering a Norwegian resort. But let's talk about the Colorado Sun more, or that article. So Wolf Creek in particular, they are poised to reopen, and they're doing it in a pretty interesting way, similar to what we talked about last year. So basically they're going to have no more than 500 pass holders, and then they're also going to cap day tickets at 120 per day. And then regardless of your situation, whether you're buying a day ticket or not, you need to make a reservation 24 hours in advance to kind of secure your spot on the slope. So pretty interesting. And then also kind of very much along the same lines, Colorado has a new safer at home phase where they're basically saying you can get outside and recreate, whether that's kayaking or rafting or skiing or hiking or whatever, but do so within 10 miles of your home. So I think that's a really good idea. I think it's a smart move. I think we're making steps towards reopening, and I think the way that Colorado is doing it is relatively safely. Obviously, that's going to affect places like Wolf Creek because you basically can't ski there unless you're within a 10-mile radius, so to speak. So pretty interesting stuff out of Colorado and around the world. I would check out that Telegraph article too if you're interested about Europe. This is very much along the same lines. Actually, it's really along the same lines as the first news topic we talked about, but it's basically covering the financial situation of ski resorts. And this article from Bloomberg Finance and Yahoo Finance picked it up as well. It's basically specifically covering the relationship between Bank of America and Vail Resorts. So Bank of America granted Vail Resorts basically a 2-year break on debt covenants, and that allowed Vail basically to offer a new bond intended to raise $600 million. But it's pretty amazing because despite all the kind of major concerns out there, investors are clearly very interested in this because they believe they received $5.8 billion in orders for that bond. So really interesting. I think the 2-year timeline is most interesting because that's basically suggesting that Vail as a company expects it will take at least 2 years to kind of get back to normal business, or pre-COVID-19 normal business. So interesting stuff there. If you're a finance person, you'll probably really enjoy this. I leave links to all these articles in the description of the video, so if you want to read more about it, I definitely encourage you to do so. And then this is probably my favorite topic of the day. It is COVID-19 related, but it's more of a positive spin on things. Basically, there's kind of three different publications that are talking about similar things here: New York Magazine, Powder Magazine, and Bike Mag. Those first two, New York Magazine and Powder Magazine, are talking about rollerblading, inline skating. Basically, since the start of the month of March, there has been a 300% increase in demand for rollerblades. There's an interview with a representative from the company Rollerblade, which is one of the brands that we sell on Ski Essentials. And it's pretty amazing. And then that New York Magazine article, that's more covering kind of like an anecdotal story of a guy that lives in New York and was thinking about getting back into inline skating, and then the lockdown orders kind of pushed him over the edge as a way to get out and have fun. And he also kind of cited some there won't be as many people to laugh at me as I kind of work myself back into the sport. So it's really fun. This is one of my pairs. One of my favorite skates actually. This is the Twister Edge from Rollerblade. Pretty fun. You can do a lot of different stuff on this skate. It's like a kind of urban free skating skate. But I do a lot of just distance skating on it too, and I think it's really fun for Rollerblade skate to ski program too. We're probably going to do some skate to ski videos coming up because it's a fun way to get out there and stay active and kind of engage some of the same muscles as skiing, and that's a big reason why they're seeing such an increase in demand. We've experienced it at Ski Essentials too. Our apologies if you're trying to buy a skate from us and it's out of stock in a certain size. We have seen a similarly huge increase in demand for rollerblades and inline skates. We're basically consistently reordering them right now to try and fill in those sizes as they sell, and just make sure we have enough of everything. And then basically same story on the bike side of thing. The Bike Mag article is covering a similar explosion in bike retail, and basically that story is kind of talking more about it all started when schools got shut down, and then all of a sudden parents had had kids at home, and they kind of, a lot of people were realizing like, oh no, his bike's too small or her bike is too small. So it kind of started with kids' bikes was where the initial spike in sales was. And then that trickled into parents' bikes because parents were like, oh, my kid has this bike now, and then I want to ride with them. And then a couple other factors too, like, closing of public transportation. So people that relied on public transportation, a lot of them are reaching for a bike now. And then just, gym closures and stuff like that, and a way to get out and stay fit, which is a similar reason why rollerblades are up so big. But I thought that was a kind of a cool topic. It is COVID-19 related, but it's kind of a more fun side of the story. I really enjoy rollerblading, so that was fun for me to kind of talk about that. That's it for news topics. Now we have our edits of the week, as always. First one is an edit from Cody Townsend. If you haven't watched this series at all, you should probably just go back from episode 1 and watch them all. But we've got episode 27 of his The 50 series. This one he's in Wyoming. It's a really cool video. They're all really cool, but I would definitely encourage you to check it out. Next edit of the week, this one's really interesting. It's basically about a paraplegic man who has been able to start skiing with the use of an exoskeleton. Man, I guess the future is here. It feels like something straight out of a video game, just looking at the system that they've designed to help him. And it's really amazing, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come for people in similar situations. Hopefully there will be more ways to get people out on the slopes, beyond sit skis and stuff like that. It's really cool to see the progression there. Then we got a crash reel from Faction Collective. I haven't watched this in full yet, but knowing the athletes that Faction has on their team, this is gonna be wild, and I'm sure there's some crazy crashes in there. And then finally, if you're kind of a physics or math buff, we've got a video about the conservation of energy using skiing as an example. It's pretty interesting. It's basically like calculating how fast someone would need to go, I think how fast they would have to push off in order to get a little bit of air on the next mound. Pretty interesting. I know it neglects friction and air resistance, so not entirely accurate because as skiers we know that both of those things are important. So that's it. Thanks for joining me for episode 3 of Top 5 Fridays. Welcome to the month of May. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to do in these videos. Like I've mentioned before, we want to do more interviews and stuff like that. So if there's anybody out there that you want us to reach out to and interview, let us know. Or, it could be as big as somebody like Michaela Schifrin. I don't know if we'll get her, but we could try. And as small as whatever, another one of my coworkers or what have you. So we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you soon.